Good evening to all. I am Mohammed Tariq, interns team of Biodiversity Conservation Foundation. I am privileged to highlight about BCF India. BCF India is an organization working on the conservation of wildlife and natural resources for more than 2 decades long. The sense of strategic planning based on the holistic approaches connects our team with a common goal. BCF India has started its contribution to nature conservation by integrating indigenous knowledge with our lifestyle. For instances, looking into the biodiversity in our daily life is the first step towards conservation. This is our strong belief. Based on this, our research team contributing various research activities from the Gulf of Mannar to the Himalayas and encouraging young generations to involve in the diversified field of study in the conservation aspects from myrmecology to cethology and exploring the diverse ecosystem across the country. BCF India always focused to conserve the nature and diversity of various ecosystems through field-based research activities and awareness that would encourage proactive action for conservation of wildlife and wild habitats. We are strongly involving in educating young minds towards nature conservation and create awareness among people who live in harmony with nature. As the fact, we are on the road of conservation with a holistic approach to it, and this approach drove us to extend to the virtual platform and connect it effectively to enable conservation and connect young generations and common people with international prominent scientists. On behalf of BCF India, I am glad to welcome our Honorable Speaker Dr. T. Murugavel and all participants to this BCF India International webinar on the topic Conservation Importance of Lesser Known Ecosystem. Now, I would like to invite our interns team member Ms. Mirna Johnson to introduce about today's speaker. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening to all. On behalf of BCF India, I am Marina Johnson, intern of BCF, privileged in introducing our today's speaker, Dr. T. Murugavel, founder of Environment Monitoring and Action Initiating India, to this 49th international webinar. He completed his bachelor's in botany and then took MA in English literature. Since 1991, he is professor of English in Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, Tamil Nadu. He has been heading the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences for almost 10 years now. He has authorized several books, both in English and Tamil, towards English language teaching for engineering and scientific studies. His contribution towards research on English language teaching is enormous. He has published research papers and has guided research scholars for the PhD program. Apart from being a professor, he has been a naturalist and visits sanctuaries, national parks, and also other lesser-known ecosystems of importance for documentation of avifauna. He has been a nature conservationist, philatelist, columnist, ornithologist, and wildlife artist simultaneously. With a huge interest in conserving nature, he had involved in public litigations for the conservation of indigenous flora and fauna. He has worked against the encroachment of landscapes that are monumental for hosting rich biodiversity. He founded an organization called EMAI, a trust for environment monitoring and action initiating, through which he aims to achieve nature conservation through educating children of schools and colleges. Through EMAI, he works towards conserving house sparrows and helps government and corporate lands to build or restore the natural habitat for retaining and bringing back the lost biodiversity. Ultimately, his mission in EMAI is to conserve and restore rare, endangered, and threatened flora and fauna through appropriate environmental action and education. He has a huge collection of wildlife-themed stamps. The stamps collection on the theme biophilately snakes and conservation of nature have always inspired other philatelists in the states and won state-level awards in philately exhibitions. He has been a columnist with New India Express and wrote for Voice of Youth for 3 years. His articles have appeared in The Hindu, Indian Express, Savers and Gulter. His wildlife paintings have always been a part of art exhibition conducted by organizations like the Madras Natural Society and EMAI. BCF is happy in connecting the eminent professionals, stakeholders, students, and public on this international webinar during this COVID-19. We are delighted to connect our eminent speaker, Dr. T. Murugavel, founder of Environment Monitoring and Action Initiating India, on this virtual forum and waiting to listen on conservation importance of lesser-known ecosystem. Over to you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome, Doctor. Thanks for all participants who are joined.
Thanks for the invitation. I consider it as a great pleasure and privilege to talk to this August gathering on my understanding of the city I live in and uh, various components of nature that are associated with this nature, various aspects of the city in terms of biodiversity and various ecosystems. Um, so, um, uh, Chennai is the place that I would be focusing in this talk. In the next probably an hour or so, I would be talking about, as I said before, my understanding of the city and how it was, it has rich, diverse ecosystems, habitats, and how we as humans, as citizens of this city, uh, didn't have a appropriate, proper understanding of the system that we are part of, and abused it, if I were to use the word. And as a result of that, uh, we are experiencing a lot of misadventures and mishaps, and still it has not been a learning process for us. Um, uh, I grew up, fortunately, watching a pond. It's very difficult for us to imagine a city bred boy, you know, living next to a pond. Fortunately, I had this experience. Um when I was a kid, I was in a place called as Ayanavaram, um, which is not far away from the city. It's not in the outskirts, as you would imagine. It's part of the city. I would say central Madras, um, just 5 kilometers from the central station. Uh, uh, 5 kilometers from the central station. But the pond that I'm talking about is a temple pond, but it's a huge pond. It was a big one, very big one, as big as a football stadium and a football ground, and it had a lot of space around it as well. So it was a lotus pond, and I used to see several bird species. I still remember watching white-breasted kingfisher, small blue kingfisher, pond herons, and white-breasted waterhen. All residing. They were all resident breeders uh, uh, in the environs of the pond, and I used to sit there and watch from my terrace, and but as I grew up, I could see the transformation of the place I was living in. In those days, it was more like individual. houses, not the kind of apartments that we live in. Um, the individual houses with a lot of space around and not cemented. Uh, we had a lot of open space, garden, and trees. I still remember we had almost. Uh, we still have. We have not demolished that house, and we still have that place there. Uh, Coconut trees, jackfruit, mango. You know, it was a nice place to live in. But as you know, what we call as development, uh, slowly people, started selling their houses for joint ventures, and the colony started transforming into multi-storied building structures. And as a result, within 20 years or so, uh, the pond dried. Now there is no water. I even joined certain groups in restoring uh, the pond, but our efforts didn't yield result uh, because we realized that um, it's more like a bowl now. Whatever water, rainwater it gets, that's the kind of water it gets. The feed channels, the runoff water from the houses and the streets and the roads were not reaching the pond because the constructions prevented the water reaching the pond. The pond is still a dry one even now. Um, the result, now water scarcity. People started, using bore wells. They went deeper and deeper, and as a result, contributed more to this problem. Uh, as I said earlier, when I was a kid, we never had any water problem, and my grandfather used to tell me that the the temple ponds act as uh, natural rainwater harvesting systems, and a temple pond will recharge several kilometers of uh, or underwater aquifers. In the process, ensures uh, a constant supply of uh, water. So the pond that people used to take water, I used to go there and collect water plants for my aquarium. It's now dry, and nobody seems to be bothered about that. And in the similar way, the temple, which is just opposite, just across the road, also had a uh, place which was earmarked as Nandavanam. Um, we had a lot of flowering plants there. I have seen sunbirds, tailor birds, building nests, uh, uh, roosting there, and now it's all gone. So this is just an example of how a small part of the city has changed, transformed, and this is what we call as development. Um, when we consider the city Chennai as such, uh, I think it is blessed with a variety of uh, ecosystems, um, particularly um, uh, the kind of ecosystems that supports biodiversity, Uh, that's something that not many cities, I think, uh, have. Um, so I'll just list some of the uh, ecosystems that are part of this. Chennai, it has a lot of wildlife, I would say. Uh, this was an article that was written in Madras Musings, a newsletter which concentrates on Chennai, the city, and it talks about the various aspects, various phases of Chennai. And if you look at that image, we have slender loris, uh, 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 peafowl, palm civet, and uh, great horned owl, Eurasian eagle owl. Uh, it would be surprising to see that all these photographs of these creatures are shot are taken in the city. Uh, the slender loris, it's surprisingly it's in a small place, uh, Kalakshetra, an art institution. Uh, but little away from that, we have Gili National Park, and we don't have the slender loris. Uh, I think somebody in the past, some gypsy, uh, probably who in those days people used to take this around uh, and sell certain mm, um, uh, in the name of uh, good omen. But when the laws prevented people from using them as show animals and taking them around, they probably uh, dumped these slow-moving creatures in Kalakshetra, and they still survive. Even now, you can see them there. Um, uh, the peafowls, you just need to go to Sirtavur, 30 kilometers away from city. You can still find free-ranging, free-roaming peafowls, and right in Adyar, you can see palm civets, and great horned owls are seen in Nanmangalam Reserve Forest. Which again is it was not part of the city. Now it is part of the city. So it has tropical dry evergreen forests, throughout the Coromandel coast. But what was one in abundance is now in small pockets, particularly as we go towards Pondicherry. This kind of forest was in good numbers. Uh, Particularly these were in the form of sacred groves, and people really believed that these uh, forests should be preserved, and uh, they had certain belief system that prevented people from using them as resources, though they used them as for to collect some herbs and shrubs for medicines, but it was not exploited. But when city grew and roads were expanded, and the natural victims were these sacred groves. But now, on date, there are very few such pockets available, and we have a very long shoreline. Um, uh, this shoreline, apart from fishing hamlets that are dotted along the shoreline, uh, they are also minor nesting places for endangered olive ridley sea turtles. And occasionally you could see dolphins, though they are not very common. Um, um, in the past, probably in the early late 80s, when Romulus Whitaker and along with the Forest Department, in order to conserve, protect this olive ridley sea turtles, they used to walk along the shore, collect the eggs. Um, they used to collect the eggs because the eggs were poached. Um, People used to poach these eggs for consumption. But as in the last few decades, the problem of poaching is I would say is not big, but several other problems is complementing to the destruction of their habitats. One major issue here is the pollution, the untreated sewage that is being let into uh, Kuam and Adyar, which reach the sea, that pollutes, and also the kind of fishing practice is has changed now. Trawlers are being used when you go deep into the sea. So as these the turtles come towards the shore, they they get caught in the propellers, and their flippers get cut, and they get injured, and they also they get caught in the trawlers, the nets. And another big problem here is the lighting that uh, um, are part of the shoreline now. A lot of resorts have cropped up, and a lot of housing complexes line the beach, and it's also a place where people go for entertainment, walk, and they demand high mast lights for safety and for other purposes. But the impact is on the sea turtles. When the small ones, when, the hatchlings come out of the nests, the turtles don't take care of the young ones. They just lay the eggs and go back to the sea. And it takes 40 minutes, 40 days for the 40 to 50 days for the small ones to come out of their nests, and they need to crawl the way out of the nests and go back to the sea. Um, it's surprising to see that the small ones going straight to the sea if the shore is dark. If there is a light, these hatchlings are photosensitive, and the horizon is supposed to be the brighter side of the uh, uh, place, because of the reflections of the stars and the moon. But if you switch off the lights in the land side, town, the city, uh, the city will be dark. But now, because of the lights, artificial lighting systems, these hatchlings go towards the uh, uh, land and get disoriented and die. And then we have swamps and marshlands, which are in several places of the city, uh, right from Madhavaram and Manali Zeel, very, very big wetland ecosystems But when people started using them as dump yards, and now the corporation has cordoned off this place from the public use with high uh, concrete walls. The same thing has happened to the Pallikalle marshland, which I have taken as a case study to talk about the kind of how we literally killed ecosystem. Uh, and Gili National Park, this is another example that I would be uh, discussing in little detail. Gili National Park, IIT, and Raj Bhavan were continuous um, uh, woodland ecosystems, but now they are, fragmented. As a result, how it has affected the biodiversity of the place that we would be discussing. Um, Arya River, estuary and creek. The Arya River that starts from Chembrambakam, the lake ecosystem, the runoff water from Chembrambakam is supposed to be the feeding channel for this river, but now it's more of sewage that is being let into this river right along its course to the estuary. Uh, it seems that Mr. Salim Ali really wanted to uh, protect the Adayar estuary because of its rich avifaunal diversity, particularly during this season, the migratory season. We see a lot of uh, uh, plovers and waders. Even now, surprisingly, we see good numbers of these birds, but the number has reduced drastically. And Adayar Estuary and Creek. Creek is one place which has been restored recently by the government of Tamil Nadu. I think they have done a good job, and though there is, different way of looking at it in the sense that some people do complain that a wetland has been, 50 percentage of this land has been converted into a woodland. But I think it's an example of how a restoration can happen. This is the Adayar Eco Park, the restoration example I'm talking about. Mangroves have plants are planted along the creek fringes, and now I think it's a very vibrant ecosystem. Now we have crabs of fiddle crabs, mud crabs, and a lot of other diverse uh, faunal diversity is can be seen here now because of this restoration. Um, and now the PWD, Public Works Department, has taken the rest of the area of the Adayar ecosystem to restore. The process is still on. We only hope that uh, it's as good as the creek ecosystem restoration. And IIT, which is part of the Gili National Park ecosystem, is having its own problems, which we will be discussing. And Theosophical Society is, uh, though it is a combination of exotic and native plant species, I think it's very well protected. Uh, because it's not open to public. Not all get access to this place. Probably that is one reason why it is protected. Uh, I was very uh, fortunate to visit here very uh, often. Almost every week I used to go there. It is where I was able to sight uh, the Ninox cutulator, the uh, brown oak owl, um, oh, an owl which looks more like a hawk, and surprisingly, the ornithologist, Mr. Dr. Shantaram, when I wrote about this in Madras Musings, he wrote back to the magazine saying that he was surprised to see to learn that this particular bird species is still surviving in Chennai, because a long time back he had listened to the call of the bird, but he was not able to spot it. But he was happy to learn that I was able to see that and report its existence, survival in the city. But till date, I'm very happy to say that it is still surviving, not only in Theosophical Society but also in Gili National Park. And Chennai also has, hillocks, which now are not really protected. They are exposed to quarrying, mining. One such example is an abandoned quarrying spot is the Nanmangalam Reserve Forest area, where you have hillocks and uh, the water that has been accumulated in the uh, uh, mined quarried area of this reserve forest area. Again, this is where you find the great horned owl. So every year you could see a pair or a couple of them breeding here. But uh, though they are successful in breeding, it's still a question, because where do these chicks go and continue their life is a study that we need to make. Study in order to know whether there had been a few other pockets of similar ecosystems where we have seen the owls in the past, but they're no longer seen in those areas near Chengalpet and in its environs, because of the city expansion, and we now see multi-storied building very close to these hillocks. So, and we have also have the saltwater lake, uh, which is shared, the Pulicat lake, which is supposed to be the second largest uh, saltwater lake next to Chilka of Odisha. This is an ecosystem which is shared by Tamil Nadu and also Andhra. The southern part of the lake is in Tamil Nadu and the northern part is in Andhra. Near it ends in the Sriharikota, the rocket launching space station center. Um, it's known for its biodiversity and particularly faunal avifauna diversity. Almost 50 plus thousand birds uh, reach this lake during winter. Again, sadly, the birds, the numbers are coming down drastically, because the feeding channels to this river are again, cut, uh, because the area around the lake, several kilometers, are now declared as special economic zones, SEZs, and now we have a lot of industries coming up. So it's having an impact on this uh, lake system, and uh, uh, 10 kilometers of the lake at least should be declared as eco-sensitive zone, and no development should be allowed, any kind of infrastructure. Another major threat that is being faced by this lake is the expansion of the port. Uh, um, the Ennur port has already been, you know, uh, expanded, and it is uh, they are planning to expand it further. I strongly believe if that is uh, if that is done, that will be the last lane on this ecosystem, and thousands of flamingos that depend on this lake ecosystem. And also, not very far from Pulicat, we have Nelapat uh, sanctuary, where uh, pelicans and Asian open-billed storks breed in good numbers. And for these birds, the breeding birds, the pulicat is the feeding ground. So it's such an important ecosystem and a very serious threat. So that's kind of overview I thought I would give on a variety of ecosystems that is part of Chennai. And I have taken Pallikarnai marshland, freshwater uh, marshland, which is which was huge, I should say. Uh, just before 3 decades, it's supposed to be 5,000 hectares of land. Slowly, people started building houses on the fringes, and they started dumping garbage. Uh, Initially, it was done by the people who are living here, and I learned from a few senior citizens that the area around the Palikane marshland were agricultural land, and lot of farming activities were happening, but we just can't imagine the kind of transformation this place has got. Particularly, I would say the whole of um, OMR, the old Mahabalipuram road. Um, it was a floodplain, and particularly during rainy season, you would see sheets and sheets of water, and it was the city when it rained heavily. The water used to drain to this place. Uh, it's a huge floodplain. Uh, for for reasons better known to the government. That's what we call as now IT corridor, and now we blame it on the rains. Now uh, the water gets into IT companies, huge multi-story buildings, apartments, and uh, it's surprising to see, and it's shocking to see. Uh, it's not the place for for building high story buildings, and this has happened within a short period of time. And the corporation of Madras started dumping the garbage that's being collected in Chennai. Initially, a small portion was taken for 75 acres of land, and then it was expanded, and now I think it is more than 500 acres of land is now used for dumping. Probably it's more than that. I'm not really sure about the numbers. And So now the marshland has lost about 90 percentage of its original, extent, and was which was you know from 5,000 hectares. It is now only 593 hectares, and among this, 19 hectares is allotted for solid waste disposal of the Chennai Corporation, and a lot of other unauthorized structures have cropped up. And we have an engineering college there, arts college, hospitals, and sewage treatment plant, and even central government's agencies, institutions like NIOT it's functioning there. Just on the one portion of the marshland, um, that is this has been happening over a period of 3 decades, and now it's fragmented. A lot of roads cut across the fringes of the wetland. Even the main land has been bifurcated because of a radial road that runs across the marshland. And even recently, during the rains, the government was there was a news which said that the government is planning to dredge the marshland. Uh, we are not sure about the kind of logic they have behind this, because a marshland is not like any other wetland. It's more like a sponge which absorbs and retains water, and ensures that the underwater aquifers are charged, which is very essential for a metropolitan city like Chennai to survive. And this is the floodplain, and it reaches the sea through a channel. So this is the kind of uh, plan. Uh, the map of the Pallikarnai, you can see where you have this MRTS, NIOT, and IT buildings, and several other authorized and unauthorized ecosystems, structures, infrastructures which are occupying these ecosystems. Now the government the court in fact has appointed an amicus query to study the kind of uh, um, encroachments that has happened over a period of time, and uh, come out with some possible solution. So now this 31 different water bodies are connected, which make this labyrinth of the marshland, uh, and all of these water bodies release the surplus water into the marshland during the monsoon. The marsh and the related water bodies are part of the system which are important for mitigation of floodwater. This has been happening for so many years. The natural contours, the natural canals are not man-made. Though in certain areas, yes, human interventions are there, but the natural flow ensured that the Chennai city is not flooded. which is now is we have damaged these natural uh, contours through our structures. We have, though the law says that any canal, any water, uh, uh, aqueduct, natural, if it is part of a landscape, you are not supposed to cut that. You're not supposed to divert it or meddle with it in any way. But nobody bothers to even think about that. We just dump landfill, use landfill to convert the wetland into a ground and start building. This is the kind of the birds that used to come here over the years still continue coming here, particularly. Um, um, we have gray-headed lapwings. I've seen them in a particular place of this marshland. That place is no longer in existence. It is now housing complex is there now. So. But the birds still visit that place. They have to go to some other, neighboring wetland, mud flat. I've seen them there. So this is the kind of impact we have now. This I'm sure this is not unique to Chennai. Any metropolitan city which is very dynamic, which is expanding at a fast rate, will experience this. Particularly Chennai, we used to go to the environs of Chembrambakam Lake for bird watching and documenting the uh, birds and other uh, we used to see jackals. Uh, uh, I just can't remember even one trip of us in which we have not sighted a jackal. Uh, 20 years back. But now the whole area is now like any other place of Chennai. We see only the high-storied building, which nobody even dreamt of. Seeing a high-story, multi-storied building there. The place where peasantile jasanas and purple moorhens and um, uh, weaver birds, streaked weaver birds used to nest in the reeds, are all converted into industrial complexes and um residential complexes, cutting across these water bodies. Um so now we see water on two sides of the road that runs across a wetland, and particularly during rainy season, the snakes, the frogs, toads, even the birds that come to eat them are victimized. They are roadkills now. Lot of such casualties are happening, particularly just outside the greater Chennai, the so-called the newly developed uh, uh, parts of the Chennai. So uh, this is the kind of biodiversity that is that's found in this Palikarnai wetland. four species of plants and seven species of butterflies, crabs and prawns, five snails, clams, nine fish, 46 frogs, 10, and it's like no 337, which is a good number. All we have to do is now is at least now what if there should be protected. Fortunately, the government declared. I think it happened in 2007, a part of this reserve forest, part of the marshland was declared as the reserve forest area, protected uh, uh, um, forest land. But it is ironical to see that on another side, the dumping of the garbage still continues, though the burning of the garbage should not be done, for they release dioxins, and the garbage that is being dumped is not segregated. uh, and apart from the uh, legal dumping that is being done by the corporation, there are illegal dumping by several other sources. Even medical waste, unsegregated medical waste, is being dumped here. Uh, as early as 80s, I think there was a study done by one researcher who is working in Ehem University, Japan, Maritime University, an Indian by name Annamalai Subramaniam. He studied the kind of um, impact on humans who live close to the dump yards in whole of Southeast Asia. Very sadly, uh, uh, people who live close to uh, uh, the Pallikarnai wetland. Perungudi is the place where uh, the dump yard is still there, apart from a portion of Pallikarnai. The mothers who live, women who live here, have the highest amount of toxicity in their milk, mother's milk. So that is the kind of damage that we have caused. Um, um, if we humans, evolved creatures, are experiencing this kind of toxicity, imagine you can. It's easy. It's not difficult for us to imagine the kind of impact the birds and fish and other creatures that depend on the wetland. I'm sure that if some research is done, chemicals that are in these uh, the fish or the birds that which depend on this fish, it's going to be pretty alarming. The kind of biomagnification and bioaccumulation of chemicals that would have happened to these uh, uh, um, uh, creatures that depend on this marshland. Um, but it's still happening, the problems that we have now is habitat fragmentation because of the roads, infrastructure, municipal landfills. We have created all these things, and the sewage treatment plants is not really in place. It's all ill-planned or unplanned growth. This is just an example of how city expansion should not be done. So this has fragmented the marsh into smaller portions. As I said before, it has altered the natural drainage pattern. The the feed channels to the marshland, they are all cut, and unscientific manner of addressing flood control, and invasive species, Prosophis, and water hyacinth is also a problem, though not a big problem as the other problems that I just mentioned a little earlier. So these are the problems, and um, if you if at all you want to uh, do something to save this, you can do that, but I would suggest it is possible only we have to study the kind of uh, flora and fauna that is in existence now, and ensure that different habitat zone is available. The reeds and the water, open wetlands, mud flats, each unique habitat is playing a role in a species uh, food, and also roosting, and also breeding cycle. So this is something that this understanding of the system is very essential in order to ensure that all the species that depend on the system are protected. So for this, survey is very essential, and then we need to ensure that we protect the different ecotones. So the buffer zone is very, very essential. Like any ecosystems, the wetland ecosystems should also have a buffer zone. A width of 50 to 100 feet protect the quality, water quality, and 100 to 300 feet recommended for other functions like habitat for the birds and other creatures that depend on the system. And if we stop dumping the garbage there, or letting off the untreated sewage, I'm sure that the typha reeds and there are certain mechanisms employed by these plants which act as natural remediation process. And the best example would be during the COVID situation. Even the river uh, Ganges was cleaned without any human intervention. So just by putting an end to this garbage dumping, or um, untreated sewage, I think the nature will take care of itself. And reclaiming and restoring adjacent habitat is also very essential. But that would demand, if we were to remove the kind of people who are in the encroached land, that itself will be a huge number, and finding them another place is another problem. Uh, Going by what has happened in the past, another wetland will be sacrificed for giving a place for these people to stay. That is what has happened in Semangeri. That's what has happened in the certain portions of OMR. Uh, the floodplains, as I said earlier, are given by the government. Even in Annanagar, which is supposed to be a posh locality now, the government itself started a ARI scheme. ARI scheme, ARI is lake, and a scheme to ensure that you have a complex housing complex in that place. And if you go around the Chennai, you will see a lot of uh, lanes which would say um, um a tank bund road. You don't see the tank or the bund, you see only the road now. So there are a lot of such water bodies, which were natural natural rainwater harvesting systems, which were feeding the underwater aquifers, are no longer in existence. Even the Valluvar Kotam, where you have a huge, structure, it was a wetland. Uh, Coimbatore bus stand was a wetland. So no trace of these wetlands are seen now. Only the if you go, if anyone visits the Coimbatore bus stand, the uh, the authorities have proudly displayed photos of then and now. How you there you could see uh, the marshland with reeds and other vegetation now totally destroyed, and now you have uh, bus parking shelter there. So that's something that we have to consider when we reclaiming and restoring the adjacent habitat. Another place should not be sacrificed for claiming this uh, ecosystem. So maintenance of a green belt is considered the first line of defense against the pollutant-laden stormwater, and it will also act as a habitat of all species. These are the very possible and doable remediations uh, if political will is there. The fencing. One of the simplest way to protect wetland is fencing off the overused places with extra protection. Natural fencing it's the best. That would also act as a uh, uh, ecotones for birds that depend on uh, these plants. So another important thing here is that a link to the Buckingham Canal and the Bay of Bengal through the Okiam Madu should be protected. This is if you visit this place, that's where the Okiam Madu, very adjacent to this Okiam Madu, we have two institutions, educational institutions. And but still you will see a lot of birds, even spotted eagle. uh, Periodically every year we sight them there. So uh, still a lot of biodiversity is left when it comes to Palikarnai marshland, and some kind of intervention will help to take this, protect this wetland. Um, yeah. So as I said before, different habitat zone should be protected, and if it is existing, you have to restore them and maintain them. So that's about the Palikarnai marshland. The next one I thought that I would talk about is the Gili National Park. Not many know that this is a protected uh, um, uh, area. Um, Many people consider the children's park, which is next to the national park, as uh, the Gili National Park. So, um, in the past, it was a huge stretch of forest land. It was originally called as Gindi Lodge. It was the residence of the then governor of Tamil Nadu. It is also now where you see your governor resides. But then it was the Britishers who stayed there. It is the eighth smallest national park of the nation, and once it covered like any other natural ecosystem. It was 5 square kilometers uh, of land, and one of the last remnants of tropical dry evergreen forest of the Coromandel coast. And interestingly, it was a game reserve for the Britishers. Uh, in the early 1670s, it was the residence of the Governor William Langhorne, and it was bought by the government between 61 to 77. 172 hectares of forest, primarily for the Raj Bhavan, was transferred to various government departments. This is one of the mishaps that has happened to this ecosystem. One major portion of the forest area was given to the Union Ministry, Education Ministry. That is where we have our IIT, Indian Institute of Technology of Madras, IITM. And also we have a lot of memorials. We have Gandhi Memorial, Kamaraj Memorial, which are all part of this woodland. In the same year, a portion of the land was transferred to the forest department. That is where the Gindi Deer Park and the Children's Park, which is still in, this was the place that I was talking about, where uh, you have some aviary and um, certain other birds that are caged birds are there for display, and it definitely attracts a lot of crowd. But the national park, which is adjacent to this uh, children's park, is protected. Even if you want to visit, you have to get the permission of the forest department. Only then you will be allowed, and it also it's very close to the residence of the governor, so security issues are also there. But these memorials, Rajaji Kamaraj Memorial, are anybody's place. In anybody could enter, and it's part of the. Though it was once part of the Gindi National Park. It is now not protected. Um, so it is believed that the spotted deer, which are part of the Gindi National Park, were introduced by the Britishers, but the antelope, the black buck, which again is a protected species, endangered species, yeah, has been part of the ecosystem, the Coromandel coastal ecosystem. You can still find black buck in certain areas, particularly in Sirita, free-ranging black bucks can still be seen. Apart from this, black buck and spotted deer, Gili National Park supports good biodiversity. We have all the four big fours: cobra, Indian knight, and soft-scaled viper, Russell's viper, of course, the mongoose. Um, yeah, there's kind of a velvet mite, which used to be a common sighting in the past. Is very uh, uncommon now. Even in Gili National Park, uh, just after the rains, we used to see them in good numbers, but not anymore. And Domino's cockroach or seven-spotted cockroach, which is found in southern part of India. This is a common sight in GNP and blister beetles. Uh, they are swipe, and interestingly, this uh, star tortoise is part of the ecosystem. It's always been part of the ecosystem, and interestingly, uh, the tortoise that the star tortoise that are confiscated by the customs are released in Gindi National Park. So they do survive there. It's you can easily sight them there. Yeah, uh, spotted deer, black buck, male. Yeah, this is the top predator, the jackal, uh, which uh, is surprisingly uh, you can cite them even in Theosophical Society, because that is one Theosophical Society being situated close to Adayar estuary. And as I said earlier, Arya estuary is from the runoff water of Chemramakam Lake. There is a connectivity from there to the city, and a small population of jackal still survive in the Adayar estuary ecosystem, and the black buck female. And now let's talk about the issues that are part of the GNP. Um, yeah, Gindi National Park, which, uh, as I said earlier, one part of this ecosystem was given to IIT, and another portion was taken by the governors for governors' residents, which is a high security area, and nobody knows what's happening there. But when it comes to IIT, um, this is newspaper news that appeared in newspaper uh, Times of India, which talks about how alien invasive species of IIT, the Prosophis, is is according to the law we are supposed to remove, but how do we remove is a question. Particularly in IIT, the place, the Prosophis is part of the vegetation there, and if um, they are removed mechanically using earth movers, which is going to have an impact on the surrounding vegetation as well. So that was the reason why uh, Prakriti, the Eco Club of IIT, and few naturalists concerned about the loss of vegetation, wanted a better way of removal of Prosophis there. But the invasive species is still an issue there, unless uh, the removal is done in a phased manner by careful removal and replacing them with a native uh, flora vegetation. So this was one another problem. Uh, Having a compound wall around the GNP and IIT, that has fragmented this ecosystem. Uh, it has both its positive and negative aspects. The positivity is uh, just because there is a good number of residents staying in IIT, apart from students, a lot of faculty and supporting staff do stay there in the quarters. So naturally, because of human intervention and they're allowed to have pets, the dog population in IIT is a big issue. So I would probably talk about that in little detail because the impact these dogs have on the natural uh, wildlife is huge here. So this uh, the walls around the IIT, the compounds, prevent the dogs from going into the national park, Gili National Park, which is good. Uh, but it also prevents, inbreeding, particularly for jackals. Um, IIT also has jackals, and Indian National Park also has jackals, but they are forced to breed among themselves, which is going to have a negative impact on their health and well-being. Naturally, it will be leading to a lot of mutations and um, diseases. They are very prone to diseases. That is one aspect of concern. So this is another issue. Loss of forest cover is a huge issue here because the IIT needs to expand its infrastructure for classrooms, particularly for its research avenues. Um, they need huge infrastructure, um, state-of-the-art infrastructure, which is slowly but gradually eating into the natural forest cover. Um, Especially the places where the antelopes, the black bucks used to graze. Unlike spotted deer, which prefer thick vegetation, black bucks prefer open places dotted with some kind of small shrubbery and vegetation. Uh, these open grounds are, slowly got converted into playgrounds, parade grounds, and also the place around quarters where replaced the natural vegetations, natural grass cover was removed, and uh, the lawns were established, and that has a impact on the breeding and the feeding cycle of the black buck. So all these are available in the net. These are all reported by media, but the impact still continues. Um, um, Especially the buildings keep growing. Huge multi-story buildings are now part of IIT, which cater to the uh, uh, hostel needs of the students. So the increase in dog population is one concern, which I strongly believe should be put to an end. For Studies have proven that domestic cats, the number has been raising, and their impact on the wildlife uh, is it's huge. Uh, you know, uh, Globally, this is happening. Uh, uh, be it birds or the other population, like black-napped hare, the cats are playing a big role in their population decline. This one I was talking about, the dogs over a period of time have uh, got back into their pack hunting mechanisms. They have realized instinctively probably that uh, certain injured black bugs can be easily preyed upon when they attack in groups. Also, this is because of the way in which the careless disposal of wastes, uh, particularly the civil construction wastes, where small uh, uh, tubes, um, uh, um, the water carrying tubes, when they are cut and replaced, they are not disposed properly. So when these animals move around, they get stuck in the hooves, and slowly, they get the injury uh, gets bigger, and the animal is not able to move around, and the dogs realize that it's an easy prey. Particularly, they feed on the fawns, um, the small ones as well, and uh, this is say a recent one. Uh, Following the death of 5 black buck fawns at IIT Madras campus, the wildlife suspect the stray dogs were behind the attack. So this is again media news, and you could see the image where the stray dogs feed on the mother and the fawn. Um, so the issue here is there is a strong uh, 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 lobbying which is done to ensure that the dogs should also be protected. But it's a question of wild animals versus pet animals. Uh, the pet animals, if at all anyone prefers to have a pet, it should be the owner's responsibility to ensure that it doesn't have an impact on the uh, natural ecosystem. So uh, so you can see uh, 12 black bucks and 155 spotted deer, over a period of time, were killed by these dogs. So this is going beyond the campus. This I have seen this personally This happened at Palikarnai, where I was taking a group of school students. Um, Suddenly, I could see these dogs getting into the marshland, and systematically, it was amazing to see how they spread themselves. Two of them went into the reeds. Immediately, they flushed out uh, uh, purple moran, and which was immediately caught by the dogs that were waiting for the bird to come out of the reeds. So within few minutes, the dogs ripped the bird apart, the wings, and it just happened within few seconds. Uh, so this is something that we have to, control. Uh, I'm not suggesting that the dogs should be killed or removed inhumanly, but there are other ways of, sterilizing and trying to keep the dog population in control. Especially, the owners should be a lot more responsive, responsible than the dogs themselves. And so, uh, uh, there, this is one aspect is of great concern. Apart from again, if you look at this, this is an example of how irresponsible we humans are when we deal with the natural resources. Uh, we are not only, interfering with the floodwater plains, but also with other creatures' life cycle as well. So at least we need to learn from our mistakes. A couple of years back, Chennai had huge floods, and we have not learned from that. Still, we continue the expansion. When we talk about IIT, the construction should be stopped, and the control of dog population and waste, proper waste disposal should be there. That I have seen spotted deer eating biryani and chewing on the bones. It's not part of the diet, but somehow they developed a taste, or they didn't have other food. Plastic materials being chewed on. So, these things should be put to an end. Of course, when you control these things, measures should be taken to promote biodiversity as well. So that uh, the small pockets of greenery, which act as lung spaces for the city, are ensured proper respect and place in the city. In that process, it will also be a sustainable city. So at least now let's learn from our mistakes. Um, Try to make the city as a sustainable city. Some kind of a restoration process is also possible, like the Adyar Creek restoration project. There are several lakes can be restored. Kuam and Adyar can be restored, and it can be used as even a mode of transportation. If not for any other purpose like entertainment or uh, uh, so I would stop here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Doctor. For you made a
Great
wonderful
experience
presentation.
for me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, you made a wonderful eye-opening presentations, especially in urban city or else in so-called how the development of cities in and around that every person need to know about whether we are growing in a sustainable way or not. You are making a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you for all participants. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Bye.